The conference room was silent except for the faint hum of the air conditioner, but the tension in the air could have cut through steel. I had never seen her like this before, powerful, poised, and commanding in every boardroom I'd ever entered, yet now she was trembling, a quiet vulnerability hidden behind a tight-lipped expression. She looked at me, her eyes wide, almost pleading, and said, "My skirt, it's torn." Her voice, usually steady and confident, quivered, revealing a side of her she never allowed anyone to see. The words hung in the air like a fragile glass ornament, ready to shatter. I froze for a heartbeat, my mind racing, but instinct overrode hesitation. "I won't look, but I need to touch it," I whispered, knowing the sincerity in my voice mattered more than the awkwardness of the situation. "Before we go further, if you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. Every interaction spreads the message that small gestures can change lives." She flinched, unsure whether to trust me, but finally nodded, letting me guide her to a quiet corner of the room. The ripped seam was small but prominent, threatening to unravel her confidence entirely. I carefully ran my fingers over the fabric, feeling the delicate threads and attempting to hold the material together without making her feel exposed. Every touch was deliberate, every movement respectful, but also charged with unspoken tension. The room felt miles away. There was only the sound of our breathing, the unsteady pulse of vulnerability, and a shared understanding that this was more than a torn skirt, it was a moment of exposure, a test of trust. Her story unfolded slowly as I worked. She had always carried the weight of expectations heavier than anyone could imagine. A CEO of a multinational company, she was admired and feared in equal measure, but behind the glass offices and polished boardrooms, there was a life of relentless pressure, long nights, and sacrifices she never admitted. Her torn skirt wasn't just a wardrobe mishap, it was a symbol, a metaphor for the cracks in her carefully constructed armor. She confessed, almost in a whisper, how exhausting it was to maintain perfection at all times, to smile when her heart ached, to appear untouchable while battling loneliness. Listening, I realized that sometimes, the smallest accidents can uncover the deepest truths. I assured her softly, encouraging her to breathe, to let go of the fear of judgment. I kept my hands steady, not out of necessity, but out of an understanding that human contact, when handled with care and respect, could be profoundly healing. It wasn't about the fabric, it was about connection, about allowing someone to feel safe in a world that often demanded invincibility. As I held the torn skirt together, I noticed her shoulders relaxing, a tremor of relief passing over her as she allowed herself to be human, unguarded, and imperfect. In the days that followed, the incident remained unspoken, yet it changed everything between us. She began trusting me in ways she never had with anyone else. Meetings that were once purely transactional became spaces for honesty, for laughter, for shared moments of vulnerability. I saw the human behind the title, the woman who had learned to hide her fears, her doubts, and her insecurities. And through her, I realized the quiet power of compassion, of being present for someone not because it was required, but because it mattered. The transformation wasn't instantaneous. There were still days of tension, days when the world demanded her strength and she felt torn between her responsibilities and her fragile humanity. Yet, our small act of connection, our unspoken agreement to honor each other's boundaries while acknowledging our vulnerability, planted a seed. Slowly, she began opening up to those around her, allowing colleagues, friends, and even family to see her imperfections. To see her as a person, not just a CEO. And I, in turn, learned that courage is not always loud or grand, it can be quiet, tender, and profoundly simple. Months later, we looked back at that day with a sense of bittersweet nostalgia. The torn skirt was long gone, repaired and forgotten, but what remained was a bond forged in an unexpected, intimate, and deeply human moment. It reminded us both that even the strongest people sometimes need someone to hold the edges together, to help them feel whole again, even if only for a fleeting moment. And perhaps most importantly, it reminded me that kindness is never wasted, and trust, once earned, becomes a force that can quietly change lives. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and share this video with someone who needs a reminder of the power of compassion. And before you leave, I have a special request. Share in the comments one moment when someone's kindness made a difference in your life. Your story could inspire someone else today.